Booktube, it's Janet, and here I am with my April wrap-up. April was a great month for me reading wise. I managed to read 13 books, which is huge for me. I'm quite a slow reader, so 13 is a lot. Sometimes I only manage to, if I go on a fortnight's holiday, that's the kind of amount of books I would read on 2 weeks on holiday. So I did 13 books, was working full time, and after being quite slumpy in March, that was great. And I did a few readathons, which definitely kick-started me into getting back into the reading bug, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'll go through the books I read this month. I'm going to do them in ascending order, lowest first, highest, with the star ratings that I gave them. So the first one, which I gave 2 stars to, which was Lobsters, and this is by Tom Ellen and Lucy Iverson. I think my age went against me with this one. I read this as a parent as opposed to a contemporary, and I just kind of got annoyed because it was all about the importance of losing your virginity. It's set around university, college and the A-level results, so not even university. And the preoccupation that it's so important to lose your virginity, and the actual losing of the virginity was more important than who you're with, why you're doing it. So it just annoyed me. So the first half of it, I wanted to throw it, but it got better in the second half, hence the 2 stars. But yeah, I couldn't get along with it. That's the only 2-star book I had this month though, the rest it gets better. So 3 stars goes to the latest Inspector McLean instalment by James Oswald, and that's Prayer for the Dead. This is it's either the 4th or the 5th book in the series, I can't remember now. I absolutely love this series. I have to say this has probably been the weakest one of all the ones I've read so far. But I do absolutely love, it's a crime series. Inspector McLean is the main protagonist. He's a really, really nice guy. He's very, very professional. Although he does seem to attract a lot of bad things that seem to revolve around his personal life that end up being crimes and involving serial killers and things. There's often sometimes there can be a bit of a supernatural element to some of these, but I have to say it was sort of more toned down in this one than in the other ones. So I will definitely carry on with the series. I really enjoy it. I love that it's set in Edinburgh, one of my favourite places in the whole world. I love James Oswald's writing. James Oswald is actually a farmer who writes crime novels, and he also has a fantasy series about Sir Benfro, I think he's a dragon. And so I don't know if it's it all in, so I do recommend them. It's a great series. The next 3-star read was I think this was Genre-thon. I did that many thons this month, and that is The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. I think this was a victim of being slightly dated. It was written in the 50s, and so although it was a really good concept, good ideas, did enjoy it, but it was quite misogynist in places. The woman had her role and the man had his role. So that did wind me up a little bit. It was certainly not something you would advocate as a feminist text. It just was a bit slow in the middle. I found it a little bit slow, yeah. But it was good. I would recommend it. I'd read more of John Wyndham's, but yeah, it just was a little bit meh in the middle. The next 4-star readers I will hold up and show you my lovely pink Kindle was a book I read on my Kindle, and that was a Hercule Poirot novel by Agatha Christie, and that was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Gave that 4 stars. It's the second Poirot I've read. No, it's not. I've read a few more. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely brilliant. Just love Agatha Christie. I've read The Mysterious Affair at Styles and Murder on the Orient Express so far, and absolutely love them. Can't wait to read more of her writing. You can just devour them, and they're so clever, and you can understand why she's probably, she is the best-selling author of all time. So yeah, so definitely we'll be reading more Agatha Christie. Absolutely loved it. Thoroughly recommend it. The next 4-star book was again genreathon, and this was Carrie by Stephen King. And I picked this in horror because I don't read horror, and really enjoyed it. I mean, I'd seen the film years back, but I actually watched the 1970s version of the film after I've read it and thought it was quite a good interpretation of the book. Probably don't need to tell you anything about Carrie. It's been out there a long time. It's really famous, and I recommend it. It's worth a read, and it's quite astonishing that there's a little bit of a foreword by Stephen King in it, and he says about how he was writing to sort of pay the rent, and he started writing Carrie and he threw it in the bin, and his wife fished it out and said, no, this is good, you really need to work on it, and it turned into his first novel, and then the rest is history. The next 4-star read is Harry Potter. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. You're probably all going, oh yeah, we know that, but it's new to me. I've never read the Harry Potter series before, and I am absolutely loving it, and I am trying to ration myself to one Harry Potter book a month because I just never read anything else. But I can't wait to get back into that world. Absolutely loving it. I would definitely have loved this had I been the age it was possibly aimed at when it came out, but I was busy having children and working and doing shifts and things, so it passed me by. But it's lovely to have this experience for the first time, so really enjoying it. And then I'm watching the film after I've read each book as well, and thoroughly enjoying the whole experience of immersing myself into Potter world. The next book, I've quite a lot of 4 stars this month. It was a pretty good month for 4 stars. It takes a lot for me to give 5 stars to anything. But this is a graphic novel, and this is Descender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. And I absolutely loved it. It says on it, 10 years after planet-sized robots called Harvesters appeared and wreaked havoc across the galaxy, a young android named Tim 21 wakes to find all robots have been outlawed. But it just says Tim may hold the secrets to destroying the Harvesters in his DNA. And I absolutely loved it. I've got the next one on pre-order, which is due out any day now. The artwork is fabulous. I loved Tim 21. And yeah, so I absolutely adored this. Brilliant. Can't wait for the next one. Short story wise, this month I read A Portable Shelter by Kirsty Logan. I think some people have either loved it or hate it. Again, it was 4 stars for me. Really enjoyed it. It's 2 lesbian mothers who are expecting a baby, and they talk to the bump and tell it stories, and there's quite a lot of magical realism in this. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think probably if you watch BookTube you know probably more about that than you care to know. The next 4 star is my beloved 44 Scotland Street series, and this is Alexander Nicole Smith's Bertie Guide to Life and Mothers. I love this series. It's like a big hug in a book. Again, set in Edinburgh, which I absolutely love. All the characters are just so charming. You know, with Alexander McCall Smith, you're going to laugh. There's going to be things happening. He's going to lead. You're in safe hands when you read Alexander McCall Smith. His writing's brilliant. The characters are brilliant. I think this is the 9th one in the series, and the new one is due out sometime this year, which again I've got on pre-order. Thoroughly recommend this series if you just want to be kind to yourself. I recommend. And then the next one is non-fiction, and this was the Feminist Orchestra's book club read for this month, and this is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. Again, 4 stars. She was just so ahead of her time. It's all about being a woman writer, and how throughout history there's not much of women, because basically in order to have time to think and to write, you need to have financial independence and somewhere to write, and obviously women have never had that previous to when this was written, because, you know, women were men's property, and so, you know, women didn't have access to education either, so it's a really good read. It's quite a short read, but it took me a bit longer to read than I thought because I was sort of going through it slowly, but it does have quite a small typeface in it as well, but I do recommend that. The next 4-star read is Some Tame Gazelle by Barbara Pym. I've got loads of Barbara Pyms on my shelves, and this is the first one of hers that I've read. I think this is the first one chronologically as well, and it's a similar kind of read to Alexander McCall Smith in that the characters are fabulously drawn. It's the stereotypical life of spinsters living in a small village where the vicarage and the vicar is the heart of the community, and all of like the gossip and the one-upmanship that they have on each other, and the characterisation is brilliant. You'll just fall in love with it. And it's the Mrs. Bede who are the spinsters that you read about. It's set in the 50s. It's absolutely great. Can't wait to read more of Barbara Pym's. Absolutely love it. And they all have stunningly beautiful covers like that. And the final 4-star read this month was again part of the Genrethon. It was a great Genrethon for me because I've discovered new books all the time. This is a children's book, and this is Sookies Kingdom by Michael Morpurgo. And this was bought for me by my daughter at Christmas because she'd read it at school and absolutely loved it. And again, brilliant. How he got all that he got into such a short book with, you know, quite big typeface in it is just brilliant. It's kind of like almost like a little bit about the life of Pi, kind of that sort of survivor story. Basically he gets washed up on an island when his family are taking him on a boat trip around the world, and he meets Kensuke, who's a Japanese in exile on the island, and Kensuke and him learn to communicate, and Kensuke then helps Michael survive, and it's just an absolutely great story, and I recommend it to anyone. It's brilliant. I loved it. And finally, my one and only 5-star read for this month is A Song for Izzy Bradley by Carrie Spray. A buddy read this with Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books. It's my very first buddy read ever, and I loved the experience. It's just great to say to someone who's reading it at the same time, oh, what about this bit? What about that bit? Because normally when I do that at home, everybody just looks at me like I've got 3 heads because nobody knows what I'm talking about. And this is a lot more than I expected, actually. I expected it was to be a book about grief and loss because obviously Izzy Bradley dies quite early on in the book. That's not really a spoiler. And it tells you all about how the different family members deal with that grief and cope with that grief, but it's also really enlightening about the Mormon faith and how that affects everyday life and living, and the impact that the Mormon faith has on the way the family deals with the grief. And I found it absolutely fascinating. Having read a bit about Carrie Spray after reading this, she herself was brought up in the Mormon faith and since has left. So, you know, she knows what she's talking about, and I did find that aspect really interesting. This was read on the back of her short story collection called Sweet Home that I read, that I absolutely loved, and so yeah, thoroughly recommend it. It makes you have a lump in your throat as you read it, but it's not something to steer clear of. It's not something that you think, oh god, it's going to destroy me. It's not like that at all. It's brilliant. She's got a new book out due soon, and I've already pre-ordered that, and I can't remember what it's called, but no matter what she brings out, I'm going to want to read it because she's amazing. She comes from just up the road from me as well, so a lot of the references and places in the book I knew really, really well. So that was really sort of like an extra bit for me as well, because I could really picture what she was talking about. So that was it for me for April. Let me know how you've got on with your reading, if you've read any of these books, if you've got any recommendations, what you're planning to do for May, and I will see you all soon. Bye!